Hey everyone, Jason here, digital marketing consultant, and in this YouTube marketing guide, you're going to learn all 10 steps to get up and running with YouTube ads to promote your channel's content, to either grow your YouTube channel, drive more views and subscribers, or just build some brand awareness for your business. So a detailed timestamp table of contents in the description because this is going to be a long one. We're going to go through the first 5 steps of setting up your campaigns, the 2 campaigns you should start running, and then the final 5 steps are going to be covering what to do after your YouTube ads have started to run, including analysis and some troubleshooting issues, and of course, how to start scaling with remarketing. So with that, make sure you check out the timestamp table of contents as you come back to this video, building your campaigns. Let's go ahead, jump right in. The very first step, of course, is going to be deciding how to structure your campaigns. Now here we're actually going to go through 2 different campaign builds, but here's a brief overview of what we're going to be doing. So we're going to have both campaigns promoting some content on your YouTube channel. We'll get to how to choose that content or what types of videos to run with your YouTube ads later on in this tutorial. But at the campaign level, you are going to be choosing what countries or regions you want to be targeting. You're also going to be choosing the type of inventory and your daily budgets. When we get to some analysis and problems, you'll see why it's so important to keep an eye on your daily budgets. Now at the ad group level, you can pretty much have as many ad groups as you want inside of your campaign. This is where we're going to decide who is going to be seeing your ads. Now to promote your channel's content, we're going to be using affinity audiences. You can also use similar audiences, which we'll get to in remarketing at the very end of this video, and targeting other channels. Then of course the ads probably don't need too much explanation. These are the actual videos that you're going to be promoting. Again, when we go through setting up your ads, we'll talk about which videos you should and should not use and why you need to re-upload your videos as opposed to just promoting organic content that you already have posted. We're going to set up one campaign that targets affinity audiences, and we're going to set up another campaign that targets channels. So our affinity audience campaign, this is going to be a group of audiences that Google has already made for us. So it's very easy. We essentially just look at a drop-down list and say, yes, 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 and we'll be good to go. With the channels, of course, these are going to be channels that have content that your ideal customer or viewer is already watching. We'll go through how to choose those channels later and how many subscribers those channels need to have in order for your ads to actually work and get impressions. So now that we've gone through these 2 campaign structures, it's time to just jump right in. Let's go ahead, build the account. Again, timestamp table of contents in the description to help you out. So the very first thing we're going to do is make sure that our YouTube channel is connected to our Google Ads account. Now, if you don't already have a Google Ads account, you can just go to Google, search Google Ads, and you'll be able to set up an account for free. You're definitely going to want to skip the account setup process because it's going to ask you to create a campaign and do a bunch of other billing things that you don't really want to deal with right now. So however you get it set up, once you're inside of your Google Ads account, you're going to click on Tools and Settings at the top here, and then under Setup, you're going to click on Linked Accounts. You'll scroll down to YouTube, and then you'll go ahead and select Details, and here you're going to be able to add your channel. Pop-up will appear, just type in the URL or paste it, most likely paste the URL unless you memorize your little code, and you'll be good to go. Now, something that's very important here is you can connect multiple accounts to multiple channels and multiple channels to multiple accounts. So when you add your YouTube channel to this ad account, there's no lock-in here where it has to be a 1-to-1 ratio. So I'm just going to go ahead and click cancel and go back to our campaigns dashboard here. So we'll go ahead and click on the giant blue plus button to get started building our campaigns. The giant white space you're looking at is where your campaigns will actually show up. And if you're doing this for the first time, then there's not going to be anything there. I'm just blurring it out for privacy reasons. So the first thing we want to do here is actually select create a campaign without a goal. So if I click through here, you're going to see that Google wants to help you set up a campaign. It wants to hold your hand through the process. Well, we don't want them to do that because we need to make sure that we're controlling our ad spend. Now, if you're looking at your dashboard here and you've gotten to this step and you're not seeing the option to create a campaign on your own using custom settings, it might be because you have an AdWords Express account. But either way, if you are looking at this and you don't have the option to go into creating a custom campaign, go ahead and select brand awareness and reach, and you'll be able to go through this same process. You really don't want to mess with the other ones because all they do is just put you in a box in terms of the settings that you have access to. So I'll go ahead and click on create campaign without goals. We're going to select video. Of course, we want to run YouTube ads after all. And then we're going to click on custom video campaign. You don't want to use any of these other ones when you're just getting started. They're fancy things that you just don't need to worry about, especially if you're not trying to drive traffic off of YouTube. So here we're going to go ahead and click on continue. We can, of course, give our campaign a name. I highly recommend just naming your campaign by either the video you're promoting or the type of audience that you are targeting. So we'll get more into naming when we get to our second campaign. Next, we have our bidding strategy and we have our budget and start and stop dates. So for our bidding strategy, we're going to go ahead and leave it at CPV. If it's set to anything else, go into the settings and change it here to CPV. So what you want to make sure we do is we only pay when someone watches the video. Now there's two different main types of ads. We're actually going to be doing discovery ads, which are those YouTube ads that show up around YouTube on the homepage, search results, and suggested, versus those skippable in-stream ads, the skippable, I gave it away, right? Versus in-stream ads that are skippable. Those are the ads that show up, you have a 5-second count, and then you can skip them. So with those, you only pay if someone watches 30 seconds, which is pretty cool, but we're going to be doing discovery ads, so you essentially pay when someone clicks as soon as the video loads. So we're going to go ahead and leave it at cost per view, CPV, and then for our budget, we want to set it to daily. Now, if you want to make sure that Google doesn't run away with your money, go ahead and here and set an end date for 2 weeks out. And so what this is going to allow you to do is make sure that if for whatever reason you forget that you're running some YouTube ads, Google doesn't run away with your money, because they are not going to give you a refund if you forgot to turn your campaign off. So I'm going to go ahead and let you choose when your start and stop dates are. I recommend doing at least 2 weeks and start with at least $5 a day for your campaign. If you're on a really tight budget, we are making 2 campaigns, so then go ahead and put in $250 here. So you have $250 on this campaign, $250 on the other campaign. Again, it's okay if you only run it for a week or 2. So now let's go ahead and go down to networks. We're going to need to uncheck partners on display network because we only want our videos to run on YouTube itself. Google is very, very vague about where videos show up if they're not on YouTube. And because we want to have some actual metrics in terms of how our videos are performing and remarketing, we want everything to stay on YouTube, where Google can do their creepy thing, track all of our views, and actually help us with similar audiences and remarketing in the future, something they're not necessarily going to be able to do if we've checked display network. So next we have languages, and I typically just leave that alone. I leave it to all languages, and the way I differentiate where or who I want my ads to show up in front of is using location. So we'll go into advanced search here. Now, most of the time, you're just going to add bulk location. And here's a breakdown of how you'd want to use bulk location. So if you are just targeting a bunch of different countries, then go ahead and have one country. Go ahead and have one country per campaign. If you are targeting one specific country for your campaigns, then go ahead and just put in all the states and territories. Then if you are a local-based business and you're just in one particular state or area of service, then go ahead and just have the states, provinces, or territories that you want to target, and then kind of the same for neighborhood. Like if, for example, real estate agents, they'd go ahead and just type in individual neighborhoods or zip codes. For 9 out of 10 people, just putting in the country or countries that you want to target is good enough. And if you want to target other countries, you're more than welcome to just duplicate these campaigns and change out the countries in the future. But although I highly recommend just sticking with the national level, choose one country for each one of your campaigns. But we'd go ahead and select add bulk locations, and then we'd be able to paste in everything that we want to target. So here, I've just gone ahead and pasted in a bunch of states from the United States, and then we can click target all, and now you can see we're targeting all of the states for the US, which means when we're looking at our targeting data, we're actually going to be able to see how many views and subscribers or engagement we got on a per state basis. If we went any lower than this, if we started adding cities or specific zip codes, then the data would be so fractured it would be really hard to figure out what is actually working. So we'll go ahead and call that good to go. Now this next option is inventory, and this is This is where I highly recommend just click on expanded inventory unless you are very, very brand conscious. So long story short, big brands are very scared of running ads on anything that could remotely tarnish their big brand name or suggest that they're endorsing some sort of quote unquote bad content. So all this is designed for is for big advertisers so they can click limited inventory and say, hey, we don't want to show up on any content that could be remotely offensive or political or news, not good news or whatever it may be. So typically I like to just leave it at expanded, like 9.9 out of 10 times. Unless a client forces us to do something else, we just go to expanded because you're looking to follow your person, not necessarily judge them on the content that they are watching. So we'll go ahead and leave it at expanded inventory. And then I also make sure content not yet labeled is unchecked. And all this means is of all the videos, you're making sure that your ads can show up on those videos that the big advertisers don't want to show up on. And why do you want to do that? Because the big advertisers spend a lot of money. So let's not compete with them on this small inventory over here. Let's go over here and just get much cheaper views. So moving on, the rest of these you can pretty much leave alone unless you're spending something crazy like $1,000 a day. You really don't have to worry about all of these. And because we're promoting our content, you don't have to worry about conversions. So we can just scroll down a little bit and click on skip ad group creation. So if we scroll down, you can see we can actually start making our ad groups. Those are where we're going to choose our targeting, but we don't want to do that yet. We just want to get our campaign set up and ready to go. So I'll go and skip. Yes, we want to skip, create campaign, and now our campaign is all set up and ready to go for starting to add ad groups. So we'll continue to our campaign here. And if you ever want to modify anything that we just went through, you can always go to the left-hand side and click on settings, and you'll be able to get to all of the options that we just went through. So nothing that we've put together so far is set in stone. When we get to the ad groups, there's something that you can't undo. But for now, everything we've done so far, you can undo. So if we go back to our diagram here, we're actually going to build the affinity campaign first. We've gone ahead and created the campaign level. So now it's time to go ahead and start creating our ad groups. Now, when it comes to audience targeting, there are a ton of different options and we can get super complicated, but we're going to 80-20 the process and just keep it simple with these two targeting options because as we've gone through experimenting for ourselves and clients, these two targeting options have proven the best when it comes to content promotion, brand awareness, and growing channels. So first, let's go ahead and go through what these two are. So channels are just choosing specific channels that have content related to your content, or more specifically, what channels are your ideal viewers or customers already watching. And then affinity audiences are pre-done lists by Google that are essentially groups people together based upon general interests or habits. And so these are going to be different than something else called in-market audiences, which I'll talk about in a moment. But these two audiences are going to be the best when it comes to promoting your channel's content, building business awareness. So for YouTube channels, you're going to want a total of 12, and you're going to want 4 that are over 500,000 subscribers, then 4 that are over 100,000, so between 100,000 and 5,000, or 500,000. Don't do 5,000. You're not going to get any views or impressions there. And then 4 channels that are very, very similar to your channel or are very, very targeted towards your ideal customer or ideal viewer. And these are going to be a long shot because as you go down the list, it's going to be harder and harder to get your videos to show up. Although I'm getting ahead of myself, we'll cover that in one of the later steps. Now, when it comes to affinity audiences, these are very, very broad. So you'll be lucky to find 5, and you'll sometimes even be lucky to find 3 that are relevant. So when you're looking at affinity audiences, if you're looking at an audience, and we'll go through the whole list in a moment, but you just remember that you want to be very specific with these, because if you're looking at it going, oh, well, maybe someone who likes my content or business would be a part of that, audience, then don't do it because they're very, very broad. So you'll be lucky to find 5, and I just put 5 there because sometimes I found our clients' accounts get carried away a little bit. So you definitely should not be able to find more than 5. If you find more than 5, you're just being too broad. So with that, let's go ahead and jump back over to our campaign and create our first ad group. So we'll click that blue plus button and we'll go into our ad group creation. So this is the campaign that we just set up. Now we're creating our first ad group inside that campaign. Now I like naming the ad group just based upon the the specific audience or targeting method that's being used, whether it's a channel, keyword, topic, audience, and then going ahead and putting the actual name. So we'll go ahead and rename it once we've chosen our affinity audience. Now, we do have two options when we come in here. We can target people or we can target content. Targeting people is where Google is doing their tracking thing, figuring out what people's interests or buying behavior are, whereas targeting content is you saying, hey, I know people who are interested in my channel or business like this type of content, so I want to show up next to it or around it. Now that's the simplest way I could put the two targeting types. So when we are targeting channels, that's actually going to be under placements. And then when we're targeting affinity audiences, that's actually going to be under people. So let's go ahead and skip the content targeting for now. This is where you can do keywords and topics, which are both very, very broad. I don't recommend starting with them, but we will get to placements when we create our second campaign and some of our other ad groups. So let's go ahead and go into people where we can choose demographics and of course our audience. So first, demographics. This is completely optional. If you are doing any sort of selling, then you probably want to uncheck 18 to 24 just because that particular audience doesn't have a whole lot of disposable income. And most of the time, it's not going to be a good fit for your product or service. Now, when we go into audiences, here is where we're actually going to be able to choose affinity. Now, you see there's some other options here. You have in-market, life events, and custom intent. Those are really, really good when you're looking to drive leads to your site. So you want someone to enter their name and email, you want to collect phone numbers, or when you're trying to make sales. Those audiences are going to be much more expensive than affinity. So since we're just going to be promoting our channel content, building some business brand awareness, let's go ahead and use a targeted group of people, but not a targeted group that's going to be as expensive. You can also create your own custom intent audiences. I have other tutorials on that, so make sure you subscribe for those. And then remarketing audiences, which we'll get to towards the end of this tutorial. So let's go ahead and click on affinity here. And this is just a quick overview of all the different categories. So when you're doing your affinity research, what you see is what you get here. So you can just go through and make a note of the 3 to 5 that really make sense for your channel and your business. So in this particular instance, I'm just going to go ahead and skip ahead to selecting business professionals because I think they might find value in some of the marketing videos that we have here. So I'll go ahead and click on business professionals and then rename the ad group Affinity Business Professionals. So it's super clear what the ad group is. Now, I get a ton of questions on why I do things this way, and in the shortest way possible, you want to only have one targeting option per ad group. If you have more than one targeting option per ad group, you won't be able to properly analyze your data. So there you go. That's why I just do one, because Google will actually aggregate a lot of the ad group data together. And if it's more than one targeting option in an ad group, you're not going to be able to specifically see which audience is actually performing better. So just go ahead and have one targeting option for one ad group. I know it's a little tedious, but you're gonna be happy that you did in the future. So let's go ahead, set our bid. Typically, I recommend setting your bid anywhere from 5 cents to 10 cents. Since we're doing discovery ads, we're doing content promotion and brand awareness, let's go ahead and set it to 5 cents. That's plenty. You can always raise it in the future, it's okay. And then we'll go ahead and skip ad group creation. Now, when we click skip ad group creation and try and save the ad group, we're gonna get this pop-up saying, hey, do you wanna do skippable ads or you want to do discovery ads? And this option right here cannot be undone. This is one of the few areas in Google Ads where they say they don't let you change it. So you have to make the right decision here. Click video discovery. Now let's quickly go through the difference. So in-stream ads are those ads that show up in front of other videos where you have the ability to skip after 5 seconds. Now with those, with CPV bidding or cost per view bidding, you're only going to pay after someone watches 30 seconds. So if someone watches that video for 10 seconds and goes, this video sucks, and skips it, you don't wind up paying for that. That doesn't count as a view as of now, which is pretty cool. I'm sure that's gonna change in the future, but for now, we're loving it. Now, when it comes to discovery ads, these are gonna show up in search, suggested, sometimes on the homepage. They're gonna show up all around YouTube, and someone actually has to click on your ad in order to view the video. And these are the types that you want to start with, especially when you're looking to grow your channel, build some brand awareness, and the views on these are going to be significantly less. However, you don't get that 30-second grace period. As soon as someone clicks and the page loads, that counts as a view. So going back over to our interface here, we're gonna go ahead and click Video Discovery Ad. Again, once we select this, we won't be able to add in-stream ads to our ad group here. Save format, and we have our first ad group. Now, all you need to do to complete this step of the campaign setup process is do this at least 2 more times. So go back into create another ad group, go back into the audience section, click on affinity, and then see if there are any other audiences that make sense for your channel or business. If there are, go ahead and create another ad group for them. If there aren't, that's okay. In this particular instance, we're just gonna stick with our one ad group here. We can always add more later. We can always try different targeting later. And so with that, we have our ad groups completed, and the next step of the process is going to be choosing what videos to run. So let's go ahead and jump back over to our interface here, and we'll click on the ad group that we created. Now, the good news is you're only gonna have to go through creating your ads once, and I'll show you how you can copy them across all your other ad groups, even to other campaigns. So we'll go ahead, once we're inside of our ad group here, we'll see that there's no ads yet, so we can go ahead and click on the blue plus button to create our first ad. Now you may be wondering, okay, great, I've gotten this far. What video should I use for my ad? Good question. So what we'll want to do is actually go over to YouTube to figure out what videos are already working. So we want to choose a video that's already bringing in subscribers, already getting good view rates, or already getting good click-through rates. Now, don't use that video. It's very important. Please watch this entire section. Do not use that video, and I'll show you why. But first, let's go ahead and figure out which videos we should be looking at for our actual ads. So here's a sample account. We'd go ahead and click on Analytics, and then we'd click on Audience, and then we click on See More. So you'll see this inside of your Creator Studio. So once we click See More, we're gonna go ahead and change it from 28 days to the past 90 days. And then you want to look at your top 1 to 3 videos and choose the one that's getting good watch time, that's getting good click-through rates, or is getting you a decent amount of subscribers. This is going to be subjective based upon you, and it's okay if you're looking at your stats and you know another channel's doing, XYZ better or worse. It doesn't matter. This is only just based upon the videos and how they're performing for you and your channel. You don't need to compare yourself. Now, before we go a step further, you need to take a serious look at this chart. Please, please, please. It's so sad when I see comments of people who have not taken this seriously. You'll notice here that this is a sample video, and what you're looking at is the average watch time for the video. For a playlist page, and for YouTube search, you'll see the average views is around 2 minutes, 2 minutes and 10 seconds, right? And then all the way over here towards the bottom, you'll see that YouTube advertising is 1:27. Now, this is just one of many examples of what happens when you run YouTube ads. 9.9 out of 10 times, your YouTube ad views are going to be worse than an average view duration you would get with organic. Now, why does this matter? YouTube looks at all your views. It doesn't care if you're paying for them or not. So the average watch time in the eyes of the algorithm is now lower because YouTube advertising is an average of 1.5 minutes versus 2 minutes. It doesn't matter where the traffic source is. And of course, external at 55 seconds, that really drags down the average view duration of the video. I'm talking over myself here. Now, if you're not convinced, hopefully this chart will. So this is an example of something that I did within the first year of starting my channel. We ran about $250 in YouTube ads to this video. I wasn't as efficient, and we got about 10,000 views over a 3.5 day period, and then absolutely nothing. Like, the algorithm just totally put it in a black box, threw it down the hole, and said, you know what? This video stinks because the average watch time just looks terrible. And the average watch time was terrible with all of the views from the ads. Now, of course, there was problems like the ads weren't very targeted, the wrong types of people were seeing them, but I just want you to show you these two charts to show you, to really drive home the point that when you run ads to an organic video, it's pretty much guaranteed to kill it. It's very, very likely it's not going to actually help the performance. So what do? You actually want to re-upload the video. So once you've gone through, you found a content video that's working really well, awesome. Go ahead and edit 10 seconds of it anywhere if you want to chop out the end, you want to add something new, just change the video for at least 10 seconds of runtime significantly so YouTube doesn't ding you with the duplicate content, and go ahead and upload it as unlisted. And that unlisted video is what you're going to select here in your ad. So I'm going to assume that you know how to upload a YouTube video to your channel, and select unlisted. Make sure that you check everything so that people don't get notified that you just uploaded a video, and you'll be good to go. That's the URL that you're going to want to paste in here. Now, when it comes to your actual video ad, you have a headline and description, and then of course the ad name. Now, the headline and the thumbnail are really going to make the most impact here. So those are the things that I would recommend testing as opposed to the description, because the description doesn't always show up. So I'll just go ahead and quickly go through. I went ahead and used the exact same title that the organic video was using, and then I went ahead and created a quick little description to hopefully entice people to click. And the ad name, I recommend coming up with some sort of naming convention for your videos. Ours is pretty OCD, but at the very least, what you could do is you can just use the date the original video was posted, because unless you're posting multiple videos a day, probably a date is a good way to differentiate which video is which, because it's really, really easy to start getting confused on what video is what. So I definitely recommend having very short ad names and then using H1 and T1 for headline 1 and thumbnail 1. So very simple, straightforward. Let's go ahead and save our ad here, and our ad is good to go. Now, if you ever want to edit the ad settings or go through and actually look at what the ad's gonna look like across YouTube, you can click on that little pencil and you can go ahead and edit the ad or preview. Now, once you've started running traffic, never edit an ad, because when you edit an ad, Google will just wipe out all of that data. So if you ever need to make changes to an ad after some data's come in, after it's running, you're going to want to go through the duplication process and then edit the copy, because the original ad is pretty much locked in. And anytime you change an ad that's already running, Google will just go ahead and wipe out all of its data. So here, what we're gonna do is we'll go ahead and click on the select box to the left of the ad, and then we'll click on edit and go ahead and copy it. Now, you can also hit Control-C on Windows or Command-C on Mac to copy it, so you don't have to go up to this edit option. And then once it's actually been copied, you'll see the little notification at the bottom, and then you can Control-V or Command-V to actually paste the ad. Now, once you do, this dialog box is going to pop up. It's already selected your campaign and ad group, so you can just go ahead and click on done. This is actually going to be helpful when you're creating your second campaign. You're going to see how it's very easy to use this and just copy your ads everywhere you need them to be. So we'll go ahead and click on done, we'll paste, and then we immediately want to go in and actually edit this new ad, because we don't need two of the same one. Do we want to edit the ad? It's telling us that it's going to remove all of the data. So the only change that I recommend doing is just trying a different thumbnail option. Now, unfortunately, you can't upload your own thumbnails anymore to split test, but you can go ahead and take a screenshot or go ahead and test your headline. Now, what's important to note here is I'm actually going to change the name to T2. So I have thumbnail 2, and that clearly tells me that we're testing the thumbnail. If I change the headline, it would be H2 thumbnail 1, and you only want to test one element at a time. Let's go ahead and save the ad, and I'll go ahead and click on the campaign name here at the top and go back to all ad groups. And with that, we have set up our first campaign, our first ad group, and our 2 ads for testing. And of course, we would go through the copy paste process for our ads if we had other ad groups as well. So once we've done all of this, you can pat yourself on the back. Just go ahead and hit that like button. If you're still watching, it's time to actually go do this all over again for our second campaign that's going to be targeting channels. Now, don't worry, we can copy a lot from what we did from the first one. So we don't have to do everything from scratch, especially when it comes to the campaign settings and when it comes to the ads. So let's jump back into our ads account. We'll click on the blue plus button, but this time we're going to click load campaign settings to make this go a heck of a lot faster than it did the first time. So when we load our campaign settings, you'll be able to search for other campaigns that you've already set up to essentially copy the settings you already have. So we'll search the campaign we just created, which is our demo, and we'll go ahead and click on it, and then we'll immediately need to change the name. Here I'm just going to change it to, say, channels instead of affinity, and then we'll move on down to through editing the rest. So I'm gonna go through this relatively quickly because everything's already set up for us. You can see it's already a maximum CPV. And then the only other thing you wanna make sure is the budget and date has actually come through correctly. You want the same start and end date, or you can change them, but just make sure that the end date is there so Google doesn't spend that money. So let's go ahead and make sure video partners is still unchecked. All languages, we have all of our states here. Expanded inventory is good to go. We have content not labeled is still unchecked. Yes, I'm going fast. We're gonna skip all those other settings and we'll go straight into creating our ad group. So with this particular campaign, we are targeting channels. So I'll go ahead and change the ad group name to channel. And instead of going to audiences, like I did the first time, I'll go to placements. Now, a quick little asterisk here. If in demographics in your first campaign, you changed the 18 to 24, anything else in demographics, you got to change them here too. Make sure that you have an apples to apples comparison. So the only thing you want to be changing here is your actual targeting. So we only want affinity versus channels. You want to figure out which one's going to work better for you. And of course, if you have demographics different in both of those, that's not an apples to apples comparison. So we'll go ahead and click on placements here, and then we'll click on YouTube channels. And then here you can just search for your YouTube channel. Start with the 4 channels that are 500,000 subscribers or above. You can always try lower channels, and when we get to troubleshooting, you'll see why, because you're gonna get 0 impressions if you do it the other way around. So we'll go ahead and just search Neil Patel because he is a popular and smart marketer, and hopefully people who find value in his content would find value in some of our content as well. So I'd go ahead and select his channel, and we'd only wanna select one channel for our ad group here, and I'd come back up and change the channel name to Neil Patel. So channel Neil Patel makes it super simple to know what the ad group is and who it's targeting. So for a bidding, I'm going to go ahead and leave it at 5 cents. You're probably going to find that channel targeting winds up costing you more than what affinity audiences would, but when you're just getting started, just leave it at 5 cents. The worst that happens, you raise your bid in the future, right? So then we'll go ahead and click on skip ad group ad creation. We're creating the ad group. Skip ad creation because we already have our ad. We just need to copy it over. So I'm going to go ahead and click on skip. Yes, skip. And then when I click create campaign, it's going to ask me if the ad group I just made, should it be in-stream or discovery? It's going to be discovery. So we'll click on discovery and save that format. And now we can continue to our campaign. So what we'd want to do is go through the ad group creation process 3 more times. So we have channel number 1, so we need channel number 2, 3, and 4, and then we'll be good to go for this next step. So make sure you do all of your ad group creation now so you don't have to go back and copy your ads again. Now I'm gonna assume you've gone through it 3 times. Let's go ahead and copy the ads that we already have into our new campaign and ad groups. Now there is a little dark gray arrow here that you're going to click on, and you're gonna be able to see a list of all of your campaigns. I've just blurred out all of the random ones except for the ones that we're focusing on here. So I'm going to select the campaign I just made, that affinity campaign with the 1 ad group targeting business professionals and the 2 different ad versions. And so if I go ahead and click through to the ad group that I made, you'll see here, those are the 2 ads we made when we went ahead and created this first campaign. So we'll go and select and copy them. And then once we've copied them, we're going to go back to our new campaign. So track with me here. So we're copying from the old campaign ad group, and we're going back to the new ad group campaign and ad group that we just made, and we're going to click on paste. That dialog box is going to pop up again. Here we only have 1 ad group, so we'll just go ahead and click done. However, if you've gone through and made your other channel ad groups, you're going to be able to select them here. So you'll select all the ad groups you want your ads to be added to, and then you'll go ahead and click on done, and we'll click paste. And now you can see the 2 ads that we made in the first campaign are now in our second campaign in our channel ad group. And so that's how you make sure that you save a tremendous amount of time from making your ads over and over and over again, right? So we only have to paste them 1 time. So we'll go ahead and dismiss the notification at the bottom. And if we come back to all campaigns, now you can see that we have our 2 campaigns that we just made, 1 targeting channels, 1 targeting affinity. So congratulations, you are now set up and ready to go running your campaign. So congratulations on taking action. And now that we've finished the first 5 steps, now it's time to go into part 2 of the training, where we're actually going to go through what happens once you've started to run traffic and what we need to do to actually manage our campaigns for success. And of course, the first thing we're going to do is talk about how to set up your columns and do some analysis. And the good news is when it comes to analysis, there are really only 2 metrics you need to look at. There's a lot of data in here, but we're going to use the 2 KPI method. Now, if you don't want to use these 2 key performance indicators, that's what KPI stands for, then you can go ahead and choose your own KPIs or your own metrics. But what I highly recommend is choosing 2 that are important to you, because that's really going to simplify your analysis process, because it's very easy to get analysis paralysis when you're looking at all of these different columns. So again, there's a timestamp table of contents. You can always come back here and pause and see what columns I like looking at. And to modify your columns though, what you want to do is click on the columns icon and then go and click on modify columns. And as you can see here, you can actually save multiple presets. So I'll click on modify columns and quickly go through the ones I recommend adding. First, we have performance. And because you're running YouTube ads, you want to make sure that you've checked average CPV, view rate, cost, impressions, views, and also the percentage video played. So these aren't necessarily going to match up perfectly with what you see in Creator Studio, but it is going to help you get a sense of how much of your video people are watching, because we don't just care that people are clicking, we also care that they keep actually watching the video after they clicked, right? That's kind of important. So once we've checked those, we're going to go down to competitive metrics, and you're going to want display lost is budget, rank, and then display impression share. This is going to help you understand how your ability to scale in the future. And then finally, we're going to go ahead and go to YouTube Earn Actions and add earned views and earned subscribers, because you want to see, hey, did someone actually subscribe after watching the video, or did they just watch more videos, or did they do nothing at all, right? So these are going to be other factors that will help you once you've gone through your 2 key performance indicators. Now, the 2 key save and apply. I'm getting ahead of myself, so let's go ahead and save and apply. Now, the 2 indicators that I like looking at before I get jumbled into all the other data is view rate and video percent played for these particular types of campaigns. Are they clicking and watching, and are they staying around? That's as simple as you can get with a YouTube video, right? So your view rate is going to be very dependent upon your thumbnail and headline. So this is essentially your click-through rate with a discovery ad. And then your percentage played is going to tell you how good of a fit your video is for that particular audience. Now, it's very easy to fall into the trap of having a really good click-through rate or view rate and then having people just not watch the video at all. And that's not what you want. When you need people who are actually going to engage with your content, because when they engage with your content, they're going to keep watching your videos, subscribe to your channel, and eventually purchase your products or services. So just because you get a view rate of, say, 10% or 20%, but if the percentage of video played to 25% is like 5 or 10% versus another campaign that has a view rate that's much lower, but the engagement on the back end is higher, that's a campaign that you should go with, because it's people who are actually watching versus people who are just randomly clicking and then getting bored and leaving. Now, a little warning here. You need to make sure that the campaign has at least 1,000 impressions before you start going through this, right? You can see here that there's one campaign that has 0 impressions and another that has 188. Well, you can't make decisions on 0 impressions and 188 impressions. We'll get to what to do when you have 0 impressions in a later step here, but just make sure that you've reached statistical significance before you start casting judgment on a campaign. And also just keep in mind the context of a campaign that has 20 or 100,000 impressions is probably not going to perform as well versus a campaign that only has 3,000 impressions, right? So you want to make sure that you are keeping that impression count in the back of your mind, so you're not comparing a campaign that has hundreds of thousands of impressions versus a campaign that only has 3,000 impressions. There's no way to make a good comparison there. You'd have to wait till that 3,000 impressions caught up a lot to the 100,000 impressions. Although I'll get off that, hopefully you got that. And then over here, budget lost is. Now, the higher this percentage, the more room there is to scale your campaign. So as an example here, you see the third one down is 2.4%. What that means is out of all of the impressions you could have got with this campaign, you only missed out on 2.5% of them because of your budget. that means we could triple, quadruple, we could try and spend $1,000 a day. And Google's just telling us, yeah, there's no more inventory, right? Versus if we go further down, you can see one at 38%. That tells me, okay, well, there's room for this campaign to scale. And so that's why I like adding this particular column, because it's going to help you understand whether or not you've completely tapped out on your particular settings. And when you see a campaign like this and it's working, but the budget lost is, less than 10%, then there's not a whole lot you can do in terms of increasing your budget. So go ahead and try and find another audience to target if you're looking to increase your impressions. If you're happy with it, then just let it run. That's okay. And just keep testing your ads. Now, this next thing we need to talk about is budget burn. And this is when one or two ad groups just gobble up all of your budget. So here's an example of a campaign where two ad groups just ate up all of the budget. You can see that the other four didn't get any impressions, right? And that's super frustrating when you're trying to figure out which one of these works. So when this happens to you, it doesn't mean that the other ones stink or they suck or you shouldn't use them. That's not what's going on here at all. What's going on here is it's much easier for Google to find opportunities in the top two. So what do you have to do? What you need to do is go ahead and you're actually going to want to duplicate this campaign, and you'd pause those two ad groups that are sucking up all the budget in the new campaign. And then in this campaign, you would pause the four that aren't working. So just to go through it one more time, because I know I'm talking a little fast here. When you see something like this, you have to duplicate your campaign, turn off the ad groups that are sucking up all the budget, and then let the ad groups that weren't getting any impressions run. And then in your original campaign, like the one you're looking at here, just pause the ones that weren't getting any impressions. And so that's how you want to do it, because you want to keep the data. You want to keep the data of these two that are working, but you also want to know if any of the other ad groups have the potential to work as well. And since you set your budget at the campaign level, when you see something like this, that's the only thing you can do. Duplicate your campaign. Now next, let's talk about the opposite problem, where you're not getting any impressions at all. And so your account might look like these top ones where there's just 0 impressions across the board, or these bottom ones where you're only getting a couple of impressions. And there's two things you can do. Number one, the simplest is double your bid. Number two is use different audience targeting, aka non-channel targeting. Because most of the time when you have a problem with low impressions or no impressions, it just means the channels that you're targeting don't have inventory or you're not bidding enough. So that's why the first thing you want to do is double your bid. So if you're at 5 cents, go to 10 cents. If you're at 10 cents, actually just jump up to 30 cents. So actually triple your bid in that case. And so if you still don't get any impressions after that time, then it's time to look at your audience targeting. And most likely it's going to be that you're targeting channels, and either the channels are just super expensive to target and you'd have to pay like $1 per view, which makes no sense, or there's just no inventory. There are some weird settings inside of Google Ads where no matter what you try, they just won't let you target that channel, or they won't let you use that particular ad type with that particular targeting type. And Google support is not going to be helpful. They're not going to know either. So just try a different audience after you've doubled your bid. Next, we have content testing. And this is going to be, once you figured out your audiences, this is going to be where you want to spend the majority of your time. So all you need to do with your content testing, with your ad testing, is make sure that you just have 2 ads in each one of your ad groups. Because Google is going to try and optimize it for you, there's actually not a way you can force Google to evenly rotate it without getting advanced with some silly rules and coding. So I'm not going to get into that. But essentially all you want to do here is, once you see one ad that's performing really well versus another, pause the one that's not working very well, duplicate the one that is, and then try a different thumbnail, try a different headline. Now, obviously, if you want to try a different video, that's completely okay too. Now, the final one we have is going to be remarketing, and this is where your YouTube ads are really going to go to the next level. Now, unfortunately, this is going to take some time. It really is going to take some time. You're going to need hundreds of thousands of views and thousands of subscribers before these remarketing audiences actually become valuable to you. But the good news is you can set them up now and let them start doing work for you in the background. So I want to show you how to set up your remarketing audiences and which ones you should set up. So going back over to our interface here, go ahead and click on Tools and Settings, and then click on Audience Manager. And this is going to be where you're going to be able to see all of your remarketing audiences. So if you're doing any other types of Google ads, they'll show up here too. So you'll go ahead and click the blue plus button and you'll click on YouTube users. And when you click on the list member settings, you'll see these are all the settings that you have. Now, unless you have hundreds of thousands of subscribers and you're getting millions of views per month, the only thing that you really want to use here is people who've already viewed a video on your channel. All of the other options are awesome and great, but they're going to take a really long time before they're actually going to be usable, let alone profitable. So one of the things that's really important with marketing audiences is the smaller your audience, the more expensive it's going to be. And so if you have 5 videos, if you say only people who watch these 5 videos, please, well, you're gonna pay something like 50 cents per view, right? Because you're being so specific. So here, just go ahead and select viewed any video from the channel, and then pre-fill options, have people who've already viewed from the past 30 days. So this is going to make it retroactive, and then go ahead and put the membership duration at 540. That's the absolute max you can do. So this is the one remarketing audience that you should set up. I also recommend going through this process, 540 days for subscribers, likes, and comments, although those are really not going to be valuable to you for a very long time. At the very minimum, set up a remarketing audience of everyone who's viewed a video from your channel. And that way you're actually going to be able to create a campaign that specifically targets them and hopefully gets them to purchase your product or service, or just keep watching your content and subscribe. And with that, that does it for all 10 steps of not only getting up and running with Google ads for YouTube ads, using the Google Ads interface. You can tell I'm a little tired here. And of course, how to optimize, analyze, and scale your campaigns once they are running. So thank you so much for watching. Sincerely hope you have a heck of a lot more confidence when it comes to running YouTube ads now. So if you made it to the end, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe for more deep dive marketing tutorials and advertising videos just like this one. And until the next, keep building the business you love.